My wife told the entire neighborhood I'd been sleeping with my physical therapist, then took our kids and left me with nothing but the mortgage. And 3 years later, she was sitting across from me in a coffee shop trying to claim a piece of a fortune she'd spent years pretending I didn't deserve. After the divorce, I was renting a single room in a shared house, eating cheap pasta most nights, holding onto a part-time bookkeeping job while paying child support I could barely afford. My ex-wife, Diane, had convinced her whole book club and half our extended family that I'd been having an affair with Marissa, the physical therapist I saw twice weekly after a work injury. It wasn't true, but Diane repeated it so often she seemed to believe it herself. She moved in with her boyfriend Todd within a month of the papers being finalized. Then my great-uncle Walt died. Nobody in the family took Walt seriously. He lived alone above his old bait shop and spent 40 years collecting vintage fishing lures. Every Thanksgiving he'd trap someone by the door and talk for 20 minutes about a rare head-and lure like it was priceless art. People joked about him for years. Turns out Walt wasn't the joke everyone thought. His lure collection, meticulously documented and insured, was appraised at just over $2.7 million. A single handmade prototype sold at auction for $410,000. I was the only relative who'd ever actually sat and listened to him. He left me everything. A small piece ran in the local paper. By the next afternoon, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 2 days later, Diane called. A name I hadn't seen on my screen in 8 months, except through our lawyers. "Hey, I heard about your uncle," she said, using the soft voice she once used to ask for money. "I'm sorry for your loss. The kids have been asking about you. Maybe we could grab coffee, talk about their future now that things have changed." Translation: she'd heard the number. We met at the coffee shop where we used to go on Sunday mornings, back when things were good. She pulled up in a car that wasn't the one from the divorce filing, wearing a coat that cost more than my rent. "You look well," she said, smiling like none of the last 3 years had happened. "Success suits you." She ordered something expensive with foam on top. I got black coffee. "The twins really miss you," she started. "Emma keeps asking why we never go anywhere nice anymore, and Owen wants to join travel hockey, but you know how expensive that gets." Classic Diane, folding guilt into small talk. Then came the actual pitch. "Actually, I've been thinking about the divorce timeline. Some of that collection was probably appreciating in value while we were still married. My attorney thinks I might have a claim to part of the inheritance." I nearly laughed out loud. "Diane, we've been divorced for 2 years. Walt died last week." She waved a hand like the details didn't matter. "Community property law isn't always that clean." Of course, she'd already talked to a lawyer. "Actually," I said, reaching into my bag, "Walt left something for you too." Her eyes lit up instantly, clearly expecting a check. I slid over a sealed envelope with her name written in Walt's shaky handwriting. She opened it eagerly. I watched her expression shift from curiosity to confusion to something close to panic. Walt, it turned out, had spent his last 2 years quietly documenting everything. Photos of Diane with Todd from months before she filed, screenshots of her bragging about taking me for everything, records of an account she'd hidden during the settlement, and at the bottom, a note in his own handwriting. "You tried to destroy a good man over money and pride. This inheritance is structured so you can't touch it. My nephew deserves better than what you gave him." Her hands were shaking by the time she finished reading. "This can't be legal," she said quietly. "It's completely legal," I told her. "Walt hired someone to look into things 2 years ago. He built this specifically to stop exactly what you're trying right now." She glanced around, aware people nearby had noticed. "This is about the kids," she tried. "It is," I said. "Which is why Walt set aside a fund for Emma and Owen's education. As long as they keep a real relationship with their father, something you've made difficult for 2 years." She left without finishing her coffee. Her lawyer confirmed 2 days later there was no valid claim at all. "The kids are staying with me next weekend. We're taking the trip Diane always promised but said we couldn't afford. Walt left instructions for a small college fund neither Diane nor Todd can ever touch." Turns out the family weirdo everyone avoided at holidays was the only one who ever really paid attention.